Hello Scourgelings, thanks for clicking on the video. I start this one off by making my party of 1 black mage and 3 white mages. The same rules for my other solo runs will apply here, XP and guild modifiers at 1x, encounters are on, I open all chests, and of course beat the game with only the 1 designated character. First things first, I kill off these white mages so I can get on with my business. And with that out of the way, I make my way to the king to hear him yammer on and on about who knows what. After all that, I head to the weapon shop to buy a knife, then I pick up fire, thunder, and sleep. I level up a few times and make my way to the Chaos Shrine to face off against Garland. I tried taking him on right away, but after a bunch of attempts, I just decide to level up to 7. I get some decent HP upgrades and try again. 5 fires does the trick, and I return to the castle with the king's daughter. He tells me thanks and something about a bridge or whatever, and I talk to her to get the loot. I double back to the Chaos Shrine to get the chest, which yields me 1 leather hat, which I do want since this is the only hat I will have until much later in the game. Then it's off to Matoya's cave to be reminded that she is, in fact, very blind. And I, being the heartless bastard I am, steal everything from her and feel absolutely nothing inside. I make my way east to Provoca to take on the pirate horde, and they totally lay me out my first few attempts, so I level up a few times and try again. I ran back to the Cornelia area to farm the goblins since everything around Provoca was very difficult. I also switched the staff at some point, which was a terrible idea, so I re-upped on a knife and it helped a lot. The grind here was slow, but I make it and head back to the pirates. I got to level 11 and started the fight off with a dark to blind as many as I could. This, coupled with an early attack, gave me the edge I needed to squeak out the victory. For thwarting his master plans, the pirate overlord hands over the deed to his ship, and now I can hit the open seas. First, I farmed enough gil to buy Thundara and Elfheim, then I returned to the sea around Cornelia to farm enough money for Fyra, Hold, and a copper armlet. I farm even more money so I can grab the spells Blizzara and Haste along with a stack of potions and ethers. Now I head over to the Marsh Cave, which proves to be not that big of a deal. I march on down to the Pisco Demons, and with a single Thundara I secure the crown. Next stop is the Western Keep, where I fight Astos. I slap Hold on him, which renders him paralyzed, then I nuke him down and snatch up the Crystal Eye. Now I head back to Matoya and begrudgingly return the Crystal Eye to her, but in return receive the Jolt Tonic, which I use to wake up the Prince in Elfheim Castle, in turn receiving the Mystic Key, which allows me to open all of the Mystic Chests, which I do, making sure to grab the Nitro Powder from Castle Cornelia. I take that Nitro Powder straight over to Mount Dwergar and hand it to this random dwarf who proceeds to terraform part of the planet. With this newfound canal, I sail over to a town called Melmond and pick up the spells Firaga and Slowra. I head west to the Earth Cave, which proves to be not difficult at all. The vampire goes down with a single fire, and I obtain the Star Ruby. In the Giant's Cave, I give the ruby to the Golem, which he eats, and moves out of the way, opening the way to the Sage's Cave. The Sage gives me his rod again, and I return to the Earth Cave. In the deeper recesses, I eventually find Lich. I tried to cast Hold to see if I could paralyze him, but it was to no avail. I elect the Spam Firaga strategy, and it works pretty well. Just a couple wizards going at it, Majo. The Earth Crystal is mine. With the Fiend of Earth defeated, this old man in Crescent Lake hands over his canoe so I can traverse rivers. Yay! I also pick up these spells Thundaga and Stun. Next, I head to the Cavern of Ice, which is extremely easy, and that gives me the Levistone, so I head straight over to the Southern Desert and claim my prize. Next, I want to go to the Citadel of Trials so I get my class promotion. So I go there and I get the Ruby Armlet and the Rat's Tail. Now I go to the Dragon Islands and I pick all the chests clean. And here I get an X Potion, an Elixir, and a Dry Ether, which are all pretty rare. In fact, only 3 dry ethers exist in the entire game, 2 in chests and 1 from a boss drop. Lastly, I head to Bahamut to cash in my Rastail. He unhoods me, and apparently black mages are generic blonde dudes. And they said this was fantasy. Dude, this is ridiculous, dude. I want my money back, man. Once I upgrade my class, I head over to Melman to pick up Teleport since only black wizards can use it. And I literally cast this 0 times my entire playthrough, so yeah. Then I head to the caravan to grab the bottle fairy. I go to Gaia to release that fairy, and pick up a protect ring, the cat's claws, and the spells Blizzaga, Break, and Stop. Break is a petrify spell, and I just bought it for fun, even though it never landed a single time this run. Now, I finally head to Mount Gulg, which has no notable items for black mages. The Marilith fight was fine. I managed to land a stop on her, but it wore off pretty quick. Hold landed, but also wore off quickly. So this reduced my strategy to once again spamming damage magic. I Blizzagga'd her down and snatched up the fire crystal. I make a quick pit stop at the waterfall cave to grab the warp cube, the ribbon, and the defender sword. The ribbon being the best headpiece for mages and most other classes. Then I dive into the sunken shrine where I get the Rosetta Stone, some diamond armlets, and the giant's gloves. The Kraken is no match. I just launch 4 spells at him and take the water crystal for my own. I take the Rosetta Stone to Melman to learn the Lufinian language, and then I head to Lufinia itself to get the chime and the spell Flare. The Mirage Tower is my next destination. It proves to be really easy, and I waltz my way up to the Flying Fortress. Here I get the Protect Cloak, which is the only shield item mages can use, the Black Robe, and the Adamantite. At this point, I am a bipedal nuke machine just shredding through everything in my path. I have become the War Mech. I reach Tiamat and attempt to debuff her, but nothing lands, so I adopt an ultra-hardcore gamer strat. I spam her with Flare and win with no effort at all, snagging the Fire Crystal. I run around to grab tonics, I grab the chests I forgot in the Western Keep, I have Excalibur crafted and instantly sold for a completely negligible amount of money for no reason other than to kind of annoy you. I enter the Chaos Shrine, and the 4 crystals allow me to go deeper. The 2 chests by this altar contain an elixir and a dry ether, so I make sure to grab these, because I'll definitely need them for the chaos fight. Nothing much happens here except for the 4 fiends. I determined that I would beat all 4 of them solely using Flare. Lich goes down after a few of them. I spam Marilith with them, and she also goes down. The Kraken managed to best me the first few times, but I get a lucky run and flare him into dust. I go snag the Masamune here, which is the only sword I can use, and it's extremely good. Then I take on Tiamat again. 9 flares and 1 slash with the Masamune ends her career. That was a really lucky run. I could have died many times, but I power through and make my way to chaos. I had to try a few times, but eventually was able to crack off enough protect drinks and maintain my health. That gave me the time I needed to cast Haste and Saber on myself a bunch of times, and I slashed Chaos down with the Masamune, and for the 3rd time I saved this godforsaken world all by myself. Nobody gonna help me around here. Now this solo run was a lot of fun. At first it was pretty challenging and slow since I lacked any sort of AoE attacks, and the Black Mage is really low HP, and they can't really use many weapons other than knives. The battles in this game are intended for entire parties, so you run into large encounters very often, making the grind pretty slow. The early levels I re-rolled quite a few times to make sure I got those super HP upgrades, which did help a lot. Once I got the ship and was allowed to get AoE damage spells, it was over. The levels and money came at lightning speed, and all I had to do was make sure I was fully stacked with high potions and ethers, and a couple cottages. Well, thanks for coming on this little adventure with me, and I hope you stay tuned for yet another solo run. See you in the next one.